Are you insane? Just utterly cuckoo in the coconut? Do you have an insatiable thirst for perfection? Or maybe you just enjoy when a video game challenge got you
DP to the fucking asshole.
If any of these statements applies to you, then this challenge is for you. Beating Far Cry 3 without skills or crafting. The skill tree in this game has brought much sadistic pleasure to me as a 13-year-old pissant. But this time around, the power fantasy won't be given to me. I must earn it. Without being able to craft, I can only carry one gun at me at all times. For a standard assault rifle, I will only be able to carry 90 bullets at a time. It also means that syringes will have to be bought at the shop for the steep price of $100. In order for me to fully immerse myself in the exotic world of the Rook Islands, we are also going to play on the hardest difficulty setting. So kick the feet up, grab the wet nose lager and enjoy the video. In Far Cry 3, we play as the frat house dweller Jason Brody and take him on a journey that will transform him from the Stiffmeister to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Vaas and his gang of dastards have taken me and the homies captive, intending to auction us off into slavery, and this is where our story picks up. Unlike Jason, who only knows of playing grab ass with his boys, Grant is known to be a capable dick swinger and led the charge to break us out of here, and I was along for the ride. He grabbed me by the collar and dragged me outside enemy lines, where he pulled out the map. Unfortunately, the map didn't say where Gothic Girl was, and I'm pretty sure that we are now lost. But that didn't matter, because Vaas shot Grant, and I now had to take matters into my own hands. Running was all I could do, so that's what I did. After 36 hours in cryosleep, I awoke from my slumber and came face to face with the last action hero on this side of the globe. Dennis here had held the line against the pirates for centuries, waiting for the prophecy to come true. And after reading my fortune cookie, he knew that I was a keeper, destined to be the Rakiat super weapon of mass destruction. I tried to explain to him that I was just your average Abercrombie and Fitch wearing high school douche canoe, and I wasn't even supposed to be here.
There are no accidents.
Dennis hooked me up with some mullah so I could buy my first firearm, and gave me some training which would be absolutely useless to me in this run. As you all probably know, this game forces you to upgrade your inventory, so technically I failed the challenge already. However, in order for me to make up for this, I won't use the extra 16 slots in this entire run. Dennis also forces you to get 2 skills, and you may be wondering how I'm going to get around this. Simple, I won't perform a takedown in this entire run. I also made sure to bind my takedown to an inconvenient key, so I won't even be tempted to sin this run. As for my second skill, I decided to go for the cook grenade one, since I don't recall ever using this skill before. The enemies in this game rarely react in time to juke your grenades anyway. Luckily, before Dennis forced me to break even more rules, we were interrupted by a phone call. The pirates were tag teaming my girlfriend Lisa at a nearby outpost, and me and Dennis wasted no time and moved out. He dropped me off and assured me that him and the Rakiat would be right behind me. I would only start the attack. Dennis was all hat, no cowboy on this one, because I single-handedly took out the outpost in a timely fashion. Somehow, Lisa had escaped the confines of the safe house, and I was now standing here with Dick in the hand. Before embarking on my journey to Dr. Earnhardt, who I had been told held my backup girl Daisy, I came to realize that my wallet size was going to be an issue. Basically, all the guns worth a damn cost more than 1,000 bucks, so I would have to climb radio towers in order to unlock them going forward. So while I made my way to Dr. Earnhardt's mansion, I climbed one and unlocked the most useless weapons on the roster. Anyway, Dr. In and Out, as the case may be, was a real stand-up dude, who not only saved foreign girls from certain death, but also supported his local business community. After gathering some mushrooms, Daisy was brought back in tip-top shape. The doctor was even willing to shelter all of my friends and keep them safe. Back on the road, I formulated a long con to aid me in my quest to free my friends. My plan was to bore the pirates to death by hitting their communication network so they couldn't send each other memes on Discord. Since I was the new sheriff in town, I thought I would need a lever-action shotgun for my crusade, so I spent all of my shekels on this weapon. But as I soon learned, a shotgun on malaria was basically as useful to me as the Rakiat. With no cash on hand, I had to go and climb some radio towers so I could unlock a stealth weapon. Luckily, today was my lucky day, because I rolled the bow on my first tower and swiftly made my way to the Medusa. With the archery training I had received in my previous challenge, this mission turned out to be a trivial task. I didn't even die a single time. But there was no time for celebration. Dennis had another job for me. While the Rakiat got lap dances and blowjobs, I was out in the field doing the chores. The pirates were busy making piss and trying to set up a hotspot, so I sneaked into their shit and blew up all their equipment and punched out without being seen.
I fear you're underestimating the sneakiness.
Whoa!
After the deed, Dennis leveled with me and told me where Vaas man cave was located. With thick little shorty's location appearing on my Google Maps, I had myself a new objective. But before I was ready to tussle, more radio towers needed to be climbed so I could get my hands on someone special. Shit. What the fuck happened to that guy? After 3 towers, I hit the most diabolical leg. God damn, she was perfect. Outfitted with curves that were begging to be handled by my firm hands. And after adding a suppressor, she was the greatest thing since sliced bread. With this rifle, I was able to bring undetected demise to the dum-dums on the shoreline. Before long, every single pirate but one was put to the sand with a cracked skull. But unfortunately, my girl only had 10 shots in her, and it was already time to let her go. So I picked up an AK and continued Armageddon in the man cave itself. You may think that me currently swinging the pirates around for a tangle will mean that this run won't be so bad. I did so too at the time. But trust me, you don't know what awaits us later in the game. Enemies will get stronger in stats, but not in intelligence. However, that doesn't matter when I have less health than a drug addict living on a diet of Dunkin' Donuts. Anyway, after discovering that Dennis had lied to me, I got bonked on the head and awoke in the middle of Vaas' motivational speech to what was left of the Sigma male community. May they one day rise again. He then torched the whole building and I was dropped 3 floors down. But in case you didn't know, I'm something of an acrobatic individual. So I scaled the building and broke me and Lisa out of there in a jiffy. I'm trying to listen to the enemy's screams of anguish as I blast them with my grenade launcher. But Lisa, my so-called fiancée, keeps buzzing in my ear. With Lisa secure in the safe house, I got a call from Dennis who were wondering where I was at. And this is when I realized it was Sunday. That meant I had to go to the temple, which I did not want to be at. After hearing about Jesus Christ Superstar or whatever religious hocus pocus they practice in this culture, I was introduced to Citra on my way out, and she did not appreciate me sleeping through her service. So she gave me a potion which would guide my soul and make me see the light.
I tell you what though folks, that's bloody nice. That is really...
In this vision, I saw my friends in the shantytown and followed a mysterious man. This all led to the finding of an ancient knife somehow. Even though Dennis questioned my odds of finding a knife in such a big town, he pointed me in the right direction. Upon arriving in the town, I came to realize that Dennis's definition of big was very revealing about his genetic shortcomings. That town simply wasn't big at all. And may I add, it was an absolute shithole. I've seen cleaner gas station bathrooms in my time. Before long, I managed to locate the guy from my vision, so I followed him on the walk to his abode and barged into the room immediately. Are you fucking serious? If that was my plan all along, why didn't I just walk up to him and say, "Hey dude, I dreamt about you last night, wanna talk?" Willis here was a full-blown Marlboro smoking, Coca-Cola drinking, peanut butter eating, tax evading, Hulk Hogan praying American who believed in opportunity for everybody. So I was now going to be part of his CIA investigation and give the pirates a dose of freedom and democracy on Uncle Sam's behalf. Doing this would stir the pot and we learn more about the pirates and my friends. For this task I was gifted the flamethrower, but since I can only carry one gun, I was going to sit this one out. On my way there, I came across a rock that was placed here as a warning. Many unfortunate souls had fallen victim to its spell by using game capture in OBS, including me. Whatever you do, always use display capture, or you might be next. Bottoms up for all the great Neanderthal pirate clips we lost along the way. Anyway, let's not get sidetracked. It was now time for my very own 420 blaze hit montage, and I'm probably the first man to say this in a decade. I thought I was cheeky by bringing a gun which used the same ammo as the pirate's AK. However, I didn't factor into the plan that I had to go and pick up the ammo, and that wasn't very possible when I had to keep my distance and stay in cover at all times. So the next time around, I preserved my ammo, used the explosive barrels to burn down the weed, and throw molotovs on the remaining crops. This next part was surely going to be difficult, and it wasn't possible to do the speedrunning skip, which I learned in my previous challenge. I simply died way too quickly on malaria, so I tried sneaking into the village and grabbed the RPG. But this also turned out to be a futile endeavor. So what I did instead was optimizing my strategy and found a closer spot to throw the grenade. It was perfect. Willis's plan worked. Hoyt had come out of hiding and was now at Barristown hunting a gang of locals who had stolen documents from the pirates. This was a serious GDPR breach, one I was going to take advantage of. The only time I died in this Rongo mission was when I ran into a mine before it even started. Because with my new rifle, these enemies were mega dead. No Garantham was had here. Just like internet personalities and grooming allegations, me and this gun were meant for each other. With Rongo out of harm's way, he was able to dig up the transportation manifest, which laid out details of my favorite junkie next to Dr. E, Oliver. With information of my homeboy's transportation to a life similar to that of Jesse Pinkman in season 5. I was going to intervene and extract him. This was quite the simple endeavor, and I don't really have anything to add because this mission was way easier than coming up with something interesting to say here. In the meantime, Willis had done some digging on eBay and found out a man named Buck had purchased my friend Keith from the pirates. What Buck was doing with Keith became clear to me when I saw his attire. There's only two types of guys wearing Hawaiian shirts: gay guys and big fat party animals, and Buck don't look like a big fat party animal to me. As responsible capitalists, me and Buck were able to strike a bargain. I find the ancient Chinese dagger for him, and I get Keith. The pirates had already done the legwork for me, and I was told this boat harbored the information I was after. Guys? We are going to need a bigger ammo pouch. After 3 mags, 2 grenades and 1 racial slur, he eventually succumbs. And for the next one, I had planned something special.
To bomb this whole motherfucking place.
The pirates had found a curious apparatus, which I assumed would be important, so I grabbed it while I was downloading their info. Apparently the pirate bros must have thought they were Doofenshmirtz and had rigged the downloading to a self-destruct mechanism. And I was now screwed. I'm of course just messing with you, because Jason is the main character and survived the explosion like it was your average Tuesday. On my quest to find the ancient blade, I ran into like-minded pirates at the temples who had the same agenda. Little did they know that their excavation and lives were going to be discontinued by my Excalibur, the Garand. Being forced into primitive methods of mass murder in my previous challenge had me using this gun feeling like cheating. The Juggernauts were a bit of a nuisance, but with some innovative gamer skills, I managed to get around them. One would think that the final cave mission would be difficult because it was crawling with enemies, but that part was actually elementary. The part that got my dick itching was the flame-spitting statues in the Knife's tomb. You probably don't even remember this part of the game, but on Master with only 2 health bars, this sequence was borderline impossible to get through. Running in a straight line was out of the question, so I tried ducking the flames. That did little to prevent 3rd-degree burns and turned me into charcoal. I then tried zigzagging, and although some damage was avoided, the path I had to take was too long for me to survive. So my next plan was to heal at the optimal time in order to barely survive. This didn't seem to work either, and in a last-ditch attempt, I tried bunny hopping, and that was the only way to dodge enough damage. So after 13 attempts, I finally escaped the death trap and made my way to Buck's place with the knife. Keith was in less than mint condition, and I demanded a discount for this discrepancy and took a payment of his blood. Keith was saved, and with Buck being in a state most commonly referred to as unalive, he no longer needed the knife, so I gave it to Citra and was now appearing on her radar of potential mates. It was a win-win situation for all parties involved. In my spare time, I even helped the Rakyat ambush a convoy. However, the car with the prisoners escaped and I was going to trail it, but I had been set up.
Well, well, well. The game's over, bitch. This time you're dead for sure. First, I'm gonna fuck you. And then, I'm gonna slice you into little pieces.
Vaas gave me the rundown on the current state of the Far Cry series and Ubisoft's bit. Who the fuck is calling this goddamn fucking phone? Det er 100% nogen jeg ikke kan snakke med her.
Hallo?
She hung up. Vaas gave me the rundown on the current state of the Far Cry series and Ubisoft's business model as a whole, and attempted to kill me via an alternative execution method he had seen in Mexico. Little did he know that I could look up a playthrough on YouTube and figure out what key I needed to press to break the rope. That's right, the annoying HUD was breaking my immersion, so I decided to turn it off completely.
But hang on to your steak and cheese, mate, because this is where it got interesting.
In this mission, all your weapons are taken away from you, and you're supposed to take down this guy with a takedown in order to get a weapon. But this is not allowed per the rules of this run, so I had to let him spot me in order for me to put him to sleep and get his weapon. The problem with this is that all nearby enemies come for you, and taking them out was not very feasible when the shotgun requires you to be one smurf deck away from them. Ammo was scarce, and playing it tactically was a must. This was extremely difficult, but your boy Cozy Nussi likes a challenge. After yet another lengthy hide-and-seek game at a waterfall, I made my way down to the camp, and with the ammo crate acting as my life support, I was able to pick off the pirates one by one. The last enemy left on the board was the Juggernaut, and I didn't have any explosives. So I picked up a sniper and was able to hit his weak spot, which resulted in an insta-kill. Back at the temple, Citra let me know that the mere existence of Vaas Montenegro was haram, and he was now going to repent in the face of my gun, Singular. After some ritualistic practices, I was ready to take the task on.
I kick ass for the Lord!
I don't know how, but I somehow made it through this massive gunfight on my first try, and Vaas was now as good as mine. With Vaas dead, the position for Hoyt's right hand was now open, and this was an opportunity I was going to get in on. The choice for me was rather simple. I could either stay here with the native freeloaders and work for free, or I could fly over to Hoyt's island and make money while doing the same labor. My old pal Willis was leaving the island, and on his way to Russia he was willing to bring me along and drop me off. A real patriot like him is hard to come by in this day and age. However, I regret agreeing to this, because we were attacked by pirates just before takeoff, and me and Willis simply couldn't compete. This mission alone brought me 33 fails, specifically because at the end of it has a part where you get sandwiched by 3 juggernauts and 10 cannon fodder. Just surviving this encounter would have been difficult enough on its own, but I also had deadweight Willis on the team. Somehow, he managed to get killed every time I was going on a kill streak. You may think that I should have just found a good spot to camp in and heal up, but that wasn't possible, because as soon as I hit, all the enemies would start shooting Willis. Placing mines at the back so we could focus on the enemies coming at the front seemed to be the best strategy I could come up with. Executing it, however, was a different matter entirely. Either I would get killed trying to set up the mines, or the enemies would somehow walk around them. After around 40 minutes of trial and error, this ended up paying off, and me and Willis was now in the air. On Hoyt's island, life wasn't much different from the jungle I had come to know. Being a wretched piece of shit with a total disregard for human life was widely accepted. Finally, I had found a place where I belonged. If I was going to become Hoyt's top dog mercenary, I needed an introduction. And it was at the Crazy Cock bar I met a fella named Sam. Me and him jived instantly, and we had long talks of the do's and don'ts of wearing a bold striped shirt. Sam was able to put me on the guest list at HoytCon, where I could enlist myself with the privateers. I even got a front row seat to his TED talk about the key factors on your business model canvas in the human trafficking profession. As with all things in life, this opportunity came at a cost. I had to borrow a uniform from a privateer, and this mission doesn't allow you to get spotted without one. I tried, but it wasn't possible to get around doing a takedown here. But seeing as the run is picking up, I'm going to let this one slide for now. With my new uniform and Sam as my introduction, I now needed to do something that would grab Hoyt's attention. So I went to a temple where a gang of his soldiers were hanging out, and you may be wondering what these dudes had done to deserve this. Well, as Sam told me, they had been faking their COD KDAs. These charlatans were not fit to be on Hoyt's esports team, but the sheet of their game history was eluding me. With the help of Sam, I found out where the rest of the gang was meeting, and my smoking gun was hopefully going to be found at this gathering. Much to my discomfort, this mission existed for the sole reason of twisting my nipples. To these soldiers, I was nothing but a test subject for their court montages. Peeking at any point meant certain death, unless I could kill the enemy shooting at me, which is not very possible when there's at least 3 guys trying to pump me full of lead simultaneously. After a while, however, I started to develop a tactic: shoot down as many enemies before calling in the cavalry, and then swap the Garand for an assault rifle. Unlike the dumb pirates, these soldiers have a lot more health, so I needed an automatic rifle to follow them so I could catch a breather. After 20 minutes and 11 deaths, I managed to finally scale the cliff and get a checkpoint, after which enemies spawned out of nowhere and killed me. No! Please, checkpoint, please. No, Crash, are you fucking serious? This was even more infuriating than taking a bite out of your sandwich and accidentally yanking the entire piece of ham out with your teeth. At this point, I had lost all respect for the enemies and didn't feel bad about playing the scummiest way possible. I was willing to do anything to get out of this situation. In case you wish to join me on this challenge, I'm going to tell you how I got past the final stretch. Before you pick up the bulletproof vest, which will allow you to tank probably 6 shots instead of 3. You need to take out all these soldiers on the bridge first. Then, assuming you use cover and play like a little girl, you will have full health and body armor after taking out the first batch of enemies, allowing you to run to the corpse and pick up the sheet, and with a bit of luck and some bad aim from the next group of enemies spawning in, you will be able to escape before they take you out. Come on.
This doesn't look good. I've got to get out of here.
Oh, yes, I did it. No. Impressed with my field research and all around good looks, fantastic. Hoyt called me in for an interview, and I practically got the job on the spot and was sworn in as a knight. My first task was to torture one of his prisoners and gather some intel. Vaas' advice on not letting your loved ones blindside you turned out to be valuable. because the prisoner was my brother Riley. I was not about to squander my new position by getting sentimental now, so I proceeded to give him a serving of my fists with a side of shoulder discomfort. Hoyt was impressed and invited me and Sam over for a game of Monopoly. Before that, me and Sam had some business to take care of. You see, the investigation I had helped Willis launch was in full effect. Unbeknownst to Hoyt, his operation was now full of undercover CIA agents. Drastic measures were now needed, so to make sure no information would make it back to the States, I was going to destroy the only communication satellite on this island. With a little bit of effort, I was able to sneak into the camp and blow up the door, and run into the bunker and trigger a checkpoint, allowing me to skip the first part of this mission. The bunker part was not easy by any means. Some deaths were had here, but this is something we should all be used to at this point. With this part of the mission down, all I had to do was plant the C4 and use the same tactic I used in kindergarten. Start a fight with all the other kids, then find a good spot to hide in and wait for mom to pick me up. But these soldiers had a hidden talent, and if I may offer a thought here, please keep it hidden. With these soldiers disarming my C4, I had no choice but to play like a man. Planting a mine near the satellite gave me a good safe net. Then I would just have to stay in the bunker and take the enemies out safely. One problem with this strategy was that I quickly ran out of bullets and I was now forced to come out of hiding. Staying out in the open was off the table, so I had to let some of the enemies get closer in order to pick up the ammo. But even with all the ammo in the world, there was one problem inbound that bullets couldn't solve. Making eye contact with this enemy meant certain death, and I had used up all the C4 in the bunker part. The amount of clutch I needed was even greater than getting stuck in traffic jam on the freeway. The way I wiggled my way around this problem was killing enemies at the satellite. When the majority was dead, I threw grenades at the Juggernaut to stall him, then ran for this bunker which had more grenades inside. With these I was able to hold out just long enough for Sam to arrive and extract me from this soup. With the difficulty of these past few missions reaching absurd levels, things could only get easier from here, right? But as I soon found out, I was only one step closer to hitting bottom.
But that's simply not possible. And I don't find this funny anymore.
That's not my problem. It's yours.
In this next mission, I was basically living rent-free in my loading screen, and to tell the truth, I much preferred that than being slapped around by these rapscallions. Being dead was much easier than being alive. Or rather, trying to stay alive. For this part, I have no clever strategies to divulge. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, I was just being bent over backwards and taken advantage of. Taking it slow and praying for the coming of the next checkpoint was my only option. Look, these soldiers might be huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf. But know this, the big bad Jason huffs and puffs back, and he will blow your house in. Eventually. With 22 deaths and the blessing of Brian Tyler's glorious soundtrack hitting my eardrums, I was able to make it through. After a long day at the office, Hoyt's illegitimate business was safe from the authorities, and me and Sam were ready for some time off. And what better way to celebrate than over a game of Monopoly? But unfortunately, this story doesn't have a happy ending. Hoyt landed on Sam's hotel and threw a temper tantrum. In his rage, he told me that he knew what me and Sam had done. I tried to explain to him that what we did was only in the best interest of the company, and that I was willing to take my part of the blame for not consulting him first. But he wouldn't listen. Consumed by his baby rage, he threatened to take my life. But as my mentor Dennis once said, "You have the right to take my life. But no, I also have the right to give you a Mike Tyson wombo combo and put a knife in your throat." With the kingpin dead at my hands, every human being within a 5-mile radius wanted to throw me into a wood chipper. Escaping Hoyt's compound under these conditions was a daunting task. The soldiers had set up a blockade at the entrance, making it impossible to run past him. So I now had to stand my ground and fight, literally. Staying at the mansion and playing it safer than a guy who has both a belt and a harness was an ideal plan. After the first group of enemies were killed off, I peeked out of the mansion, luring the remaining enemies away from the entrance. While most of the enemies were running to the mansion, I was able to blast my way out. This of course goes without saying that I was experiencing more death than a European peasant in the mid-1300s. What? They shot me through the fucking wall. Plan B was now initiated. I was going to grab Riley and get the fuck out and dodge, but I was not able to survive the ride there. I would always run out of syringes and die at the exact same point. I tried off-roading and that worked for a little bit until I got out of the mission zone. In my desperation, an ingenious idea was squeezed out of my noggin. What if I just walked to the airstrip and avoided detection? Well, This makes things a whole lot easier. This isn't my first rodeo, so upon arriving at the airstrip, I already knew where Riley was kept and sneaked my way into the house and broke him out. With Riley commandeering the chopper, I was able to unleash all of my pent up rage. God damn, it felt good to not worry about being insta-killed and just rain down lead carefree upon these fools. With the destruction of Hoyt's enterprise, there was no place for me on these islands, so I was going to round up all of my friends and sail home. But the Rakyat had done something unforgivable. Dr. E's untimely passing will never be forgiven. Except for Sam, he is the only motherfucker who actually helped me. I wish there was a third option to give the Rakyat the same treatment me and Riley had given to the military crew, but alas, I had to settle for saving my friends and going home. After 175 deaths and approximately 11 painstaking hours, it was done. You can't beat Far Cry 3 without skills or crafting. Except for that one scenario when you must perform a takedown. Can we just pretend it was a cutscene or something? Anyway, I'll let you be the judge of the results. Before I go, I must thank you for sticking around till the end of this adventure. Other than that, I just want to wish you a great day, and I hope to see you sometime in the future.